not intend to waste any more of my precious holiday time, so I suggest we get things started.
My thoughts exactly, Inspector Parrott.
Inspector Hastings.
Sergeant?
Take the National Express when your life's in a mess. It'll make you smile.
You're going to have to put that in the boot.
All human life is.
You're going to have to put that in the boot.
Yeah.
Put it in the boot.
Watch out, mate. Tony Thomas, lovely.
Okay, thanks.
Hiya, I'm Alison. Alison Oatwell.
All right, lovely, thanks. Bye.
Excuse me, are we going to be much longer?
Another few minutes. Do I know you?
Alas, I fear not.
Then I'm sorry. This is a private party.
Private, as in a secret.
Private, as in mind your own business.
Maybe this will help. The owner of the National Express coach company, from where you've leased this charabanc, happens to be a dear friend. And when he heard how work commitments had caused me to miss a flight to my particular idea of paradise, well, he offered me a seat on your little trip.
I'm afraid that's not possible.
You're going to Mallorca.
Yes, but
Perhaps the managing director and I have made a mistake.
we are taking the longer route.
Excellent. I don't get much chance to travel.
Broadly! Oi!
You're late.
Chill, babe. I trust everybody's here.
We have to stick to the schedule if we're going to make the ferry on time.
Good morning! Good morning, Doctor. Morning. Good morning. Hiya.
Morning.
Hello. And what is your role in the grand scheme of things?
Me? I'm just here for the ride.
You will join me for an aperitif in my office later. My assistant, David Grantley, will be at your disposal.
Perhaps he has other things to occupy his mind.
He will have, the stupid twit. Oh, stupid, clumsy little shit! Oh, I promised to stop tormenting the mummy's boy. However, I did not charge you with the responsibility of protecting my personal belongings, only to watch you dash them to pieces on the knees of some lackey. Now get up and unpack the Chardonnay.
Right.
Killing, I swear.
How did you know the victim?
Scooby. He said I howled like a dog when we, you know.
No, you misunderstand. How did you know the victim?
I answered an advert.
An advert.
In the Artist Review. I'm a singer. Rodney was looking for a singer. That's it.
For this new entertainment complex he was setting up in Mallorca.
It's a job. Precious few of those around when you've done the holiday camps and seaside specials.
And you were in a relationship.
He was.
You never thought of yourself as a Scooby-Doo then?
And he was no Shaggy either. Listen, call me a bitch, call me a whore, whatever. But it was useful for me to get to know him at that time. Desperate measures and all that.
Cabaret circuit really that bad?
Oh, yes. Believe me, this opportunity came up and it was too good to miss.
You were aware of his reputation, of course. The fact that people were out to get him.
Yes. But when you lived off cold baked beans and P&M soup for as long as I have, you overlook the shortcomings. This was my big chance. That Mallorca magic. Next, the Mediterranean cruises, the Caribbean
A
connections.
far cry from Duckinfield Factory Workers Social Club.
Look, I'm sorry and all that, but this has really messed things up for me, him dying.
I'm sure he's gutted.
So you have no idea who would want to kill Mr. de Valla?
There's a queue, I'm sure. But as to who, well, could be a number of people.
Bar manager. No, a stiff drink would probably floor you. Casino manager, then. No. Too gullible looking.
Actually, I'm a detective.
Ah. That grasping little weasel of an assistant has used his initiative for a change.
No, you misunderstand.
Then you are aware that my life is under threat. That is why I mentioned the possibility of a bodyguard.
Under immediate threat?
Make up your own mind. The latest in a long series, I might add. Too many to be the work of a mere crank. Jealous husbands and boyfriends, maybe. Girlfriends, even. I am what some call androgynous. I find pleasure wherever it may be offered. If you catch my drift.
Do you have the other letters?
They are where they belong. Filed under S for shit.
But you're taking the threat seriously enough to flee the country and start up abroad?
Good enough incentive? Don't you think?
But it begs the question. Why?
Because he's a pig? He wants his bits castrating and feeding to the chickens. He's an animal.
You are not the author of a sad, threatening note, are you, Sergeant?
Would have given me great pleasure. Arrogant sod.
Am I getting that coffee or not?
You've no idea from who or where these notes are from?
It is always so much easier if you know your enemy, Inspector. How does it go? They say the greatest coward hurts the most ferociously. Ah, the good doctor. Time for my daily shot in the arm. You will excuse us?
Of course.
Pump me up and watch me go, hey, Doc?
You are Dr. Imran Dutta.
For my sins?
And how long have you known the victim?
Not long. Couple of months, give or take.
A couple of months.
I inherited him from a former partner.
May I ask, Dr. Dutta, from where do you practice?
Course. Spring Head.
Springhead Grace.
Do you mind?
You know it?
Of it. Thankfully, I'm in generally good health, despite what my outward appearance may suggest to a professional man such as yourself.
You positively glow.
I could not help noticing you prepared a dose of methadone for Mr. de Valla.
Very observant, Inspector.
It's my job. Am I led to believe he had a drugs problem?
That is between myself and my patient.
We don't have to remind you that your patient is dead.
Drugs were one of many vices my former patient subscribed to. But I am a doctor. And as much as you have to endure scum in your line of duty, I too have a responsibility. To the person, not their personalities.
Lovely. Anyone else? Any more? I like, come on. You alright? Go for it then. There you go.
So did you fancy him?
The minute you walked in.
Yes, I fancied him.
Fancied him because he could help your career as a dancer?
Or was there another motive?
I don't know what you're getting at.
You have heard the saying, you always hurt the one you love.
We could have been good together.
But first you had to get close to him, right?
Isn't that always the way?
Close enough to do what? Love him or hurt him?
Good looking, so refined. Say, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? So let me get right to the point.
Comfort stop in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes? This will be the last stop.
So,
before
this
the
is it
ferry.
then?
Are you sure? I mean, she might just like him.
You know the plan.
It's all too fast.
You can't back out now. Think of what's happened. Think of the sacrifices.
I want to go home.
Soon.
How are you? Yes? Who? Graham Hood? No, I think you've got the wrong number, love.
Drink up.
Yes? Look, I've just told you, you've got the wrong... What? You are joking. Listen, darling. Join the queue. Now, why don't you do us both a favour and pour your poison into somebody else? Unbelievable. When are you going to get it into your thick skull? Oh, please. Look, you sound like a nice girl. So why don't you do something a little more in keeping with your sex? Leave the dangerous stuff to those who can carry it out. What? Mutilation? Women.
Drink up.
Cheers.
Doesn't it seem strange that you would choose to go to sleep minutes before the coach was due at the service station?
Not really. I haven't slept a wink lately. With all the excitement.
Excitement?
A new start and all that.
And when you finally emerged from your slumbers, who was on the coach?
Nobody. I presume they'd all gone into the service station.
Nobody guarding the belongings. The coach doors were left open after all.
Nobody, I'm sure.
So Mr. de Valera must have finished his call and decided to join the rest of them.
I expect so.
Except nobody saw him. Until... You discovered the body, am I right?
You were there?
It must have come as a bit of a shock.
It's not every day you find a dead person.
I realise it must be distressing for you to relive those terrible moments.
Did you notice anything unusual?
I would say that a body in the luggage compartment of a coach is pretty out of the ordinary. Wouldn't you?
I meant in the way of strangers. People you perhaps didn't recognise as fellow employees?
Although I did hear an engine, like a car.
That's quite possible. It was a motorway service station after all.
Travelling fast. Too fast.
At what stage was this?
Just before I screamed.
What exactly were you doing in the luggage compartment?
I wanted to check on my things. I was burgled recently, so I'm a little paranoid.
No other reason?
No.
That's a nice shirt you're wearing.
Thank you. I've had it some time.
Can we please get on?
It's not like the one you were wearing earlier. That seemed brand new.
I spilled ketchup on it at the service station.
And what did you do with the dirty t-shirt?
I reckon the stain would never come out unless it was properly washed there and then. So I threw it away.
Just like that?
He was afraid of something like this.
Really?
What made you say that?
It's a well-known fact. People have been after him for ages.
What people?
He's not always been so well liked, Inspector.
Go on.
He's trod on a few toes. Big toes. People take exception to that. He steps on their toes, they stamp on his head.
Whose toes?
He did mention mafia once or twice.
They're pretty big toes.
I was never sure myself. I thought it said it to make him seem a bit grand. You know, a bit flash.
And then there was the phone call on the coach.
I don't know. He was always claiming he received phone calls and letters. Personally, I didn't see any.
For how long?
Oh, God. Ages. Nothing ever happened. Until now.
So what you're saying is a hit man or hit persons could have stormed the coach while you were at the service station and carried out what amounts to an execution.
It makes sense.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? My name is Henry Parrott, Detective Inspector Parrott. Now, nobody must touch anything. And could I ask you all to wait for me inside whilst I inform the police, as we may have to return to London for an investigation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like I'm not getting a holiday.
Will this take much longer? It's been something of a trying day. I'm sure we could all do with getting back home.
I'm sure you could. But there are a few points I still haven't cleared up. For instance, when you came up...
I think that it's time we rounded up your friends. Sergeant?
I beg your pardon. May I remind you who is conducting this inquiry?
With respect, ma'am, the man is right. We've all been here long enough. And it really is all quite simple. Thank you, Sergeant. Oh no, this won't do at all. Not at all.
This had better be good.
What started as a new adventure has turned into a nightmare. I imagine you're all broken-hearted. This, after all, was your chance at a new start. A life in the sun.
There is a point to all this?
Instead, your generous benefactor has found the pass that he was so evidently running away from, catch up with him. Now, the question is, what person or persons have been quick enough and smart enough to keep pace?
Like I said, could have been a whole range of people.
Then perhaps you'd like to share with us your particular reasons for killing him.
Me? Have you gone mad?
Why not? Wasn't he a bully and a bore and totally unreasonable?
Yes, but...
And did you not say to me on the coach you could happily kill him?
Purely a figure of speech.
What was it he called you again? Ah, yes, I remember. Mummy's boy. That's it. That must be tough for a grown man such as yourself to stomach. Especially if you are particularly close to your own mother.
Sticks and stones.
Who is David Delaney?
How should I know?
Never heard of him.
Never.
A lover, perhaps.
Most certainly not. I strongly object.
Take off your sock, please.
What?
Your sock, take it off if you please. Anyone will do. Come on, chop chop. What does that say?
That is outrageous. I must have picked them up.
What is the name on that sock?
David.
David Delaney? That is you, is it not? So, even with my basic powers of deduction, my guess is that you are not Sophie Mae West, former nightclub cabaret singer turned head of entertainment, but Sophie Mae Delaney, sister of David, and daughter of Major and Mrs. Connor Delaney, latterly of the Irish Dragoons.
You couldn't be more wrong.
I don't think so. The evidence is overwhelming. When your brother fell into the aisle, I helped him with his bags, remember? And that's when I first caught sight of the name tag in his jacket. Imagine my surprise when I saw that it read, not Grantley as I would have expected, but Delaney. And after that, things began to fall into place. Dr. Dutter, I'm sure your intentions have nearly always been honourable.
As befitting a man of my position.
Your position, being the former partner in a medical practice, closed down due to alleged gross negligence.
Nothing was ever proved.
No, but you were forced to pay out a large amount of money in compensation claims, and your reputation was left in tatters. In effect, it ruined you, did it not?
Unfortunately, or fortunately, you were not a senior partner. Just a young, idealistic doctor about to take the first step on a highly promising medical career. That way, you could plot your revenge, knowing you had full anonymity. And you had a ready-made accomplice in your close and very dear friend, Miss Isla Hughes. Oh, Isla, how you so wanted to help your beloved doctor. You were able to use your rather magnetic, if I may say, feminine charms to put a person completely off his guard and administer a slow-acting drug that only a professional trained in medicine would know the full effect. Alas for you, Miss Hurst, your attack of sleeping sickness provided the best clues of all.
It is not fair to mock the afflicted, Mr. Parrott.
Do you have a mobile phone?
Of course.
What is the number?
I don't know without checking.
Allow me. Interesting. You see, when you asked for Graham Hood, something in the old grey matter clicked. Which brings me back to you. Remind me, Graham Hood, a known embezzler, extortionist, and general public nuisance, was arrested for the crimes against your family, tried and released due to lack of evidence. Right to the end, he proved himself a premier lowlife by sending one of his accomplices to jail instead, where he claimed his life.
That accomplice being, of course, Miss Walters, your own brother, Simon.
What you all did, in effect, was to sign your own statement of guilt. It took me a while to work it all out, and even now I'm not sure whether it was coincidence or not. But if you'll indulge me a while longer, this is the version of events as I see them. It took no real effort on the part of David and Sophie May Delaney to find enough victims of our deceased Mr. Hood to form a posse hell-bent on revenge. The ideal situation arose when our departed friend, fed up of persistent death threats from a number of people, possibly now known to all of us, decided to set himself up with a new situation abroad. After that, it was easier still. First of all, the good doctor was able to supply the lovely Miss Hughes the drug which would eventually render the victim unconscious.
Then, while the rest left the coach to partake of a little rest and recuperation, our phone pest, Miss Hurst and Miss Hughes here, made sure Mr. de Valor stayed on the coach long enough for the drug to kick in.
Finally, it was a simple matter of some of you coming back and placing him in the luggage compartment. Which brings me to this. What I will term the death warrant. Now, let me see if my theory is correct. You two, we've already established a motive. Which brings me to E, I presume. Eve Murray.
Oh, my brother, who will never gain consciousness. And my parents, who have no further will to live.
You took my money, my self-esteem. Now I will take your life.
This is for what you put Alison through. No more crap drugs, man. It's for my sister.
Bastard.
Vengeance is complete. My parents will once again return to the home they lost and find true friends among doubters. Their honor will be restored, shame forgotten.
Please forgive me, Mum, Dad. This is for you and all the misery he caused you.
No future for both of us.
Death is good. You were able to spell out this chilling message using the first letters of your names. I congratulate myself that I indeed put you in the correct order, even with the confusion regarding you two partners in despair.
You still have no solid proof that I can see.
No. Sergeant Phillips, if you'd be so kind. Retrieved from the scene.
Well, that could belong to anybody, even the real murderers.
Ah, an interesting use of the plural there, Miss West. Murderers, not murderer.
You're clutching at straws, Inspector.
I suppose you want me to believe that whilst we were all occupied in the service station, a person or group of people hell-bent on seeing off this guy crept onto the coach, killed him, and dumping his drugged and stabbed body in the luggage compartment.
It's feasible.
Feasible may be,
but alas, not true.
Your beautiful t-shirt. The one with the ketchup stains.
I told you. I threw it away.
That is your t-shirt, is it not?
And the ketchup stains. Here. Look. Only these are not ketchup stains. These stains are blood. And if I ran tests on them, I would expect to find them to be the same blood type as our unfortunate Mr. Hood. And seeing as when I found the bag crammed into the waste bin at the service station, containing the blood-stained knitting needle, wrapped up in an equally blood-stained t-shirt, well, it didn't take a genius to work out who the murderer, or as Miss Delaney pointed out, the murderers were.
Well, I for one think it was worth it.
I agree.
Best thing we ever did.
What happens now? Please, Inspector. No more games.
Now, I'm not one to condone the brutal murder of a fellow human being. Far from it. My job is to stop it happening. But when it does, bring the perpetrators to justice. But I am prepared to believe that there was a car. A fast car at that service station. I remember the noise its tyres made, squealing, frightened poor Miss Walter so much she spilled ketchup on her lovely new shirt.
Excuse me?
And furthermore, I believe that you have no further reason to stray from what is legally required to make an honourable citizen. So I'm going to pass on my report to Division and make sure they try and track that damn car. And then I believe we will find the true murderer of Mr. Graham Hood.
Yes!
Get out of here, off the managers.
Inspector, if there's anything we can do.
Space to enjoy the rest of my holiday.
Now I see.
There will be an investigation. I'll hang you out to dry. You haven't heard the last of this.
So, old Misery Guts does have a softer side.
I like to think I have the common touch. Justice is a double-edged sword, Sergeant. Any miscarriage is guaranteed to get my dander up.
Is that right? Well, isn't it a miscarriage that while they can go and celebrate their freedom thanks to you, we are still, well, effectively alone?
That may cause a slight stirring in the dander department, but it's nothing that a few days of golden sands, ice-cold aperitifs, and bronzed bathing beauties won't fix.
I'm seeing you in a whole new light. Henry Parrott, man of the people. It's quite attractive.
I cannot take all of the credit, Sergeant. You have proved invaluable. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have the irritating matter of a report to write and the more pressing matter of a deck chair with my name on it.
I could join you.
Do you have a pen?
And a bikini.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me, sir.
Is this your book?
Thank you.
Don't you get it? Oh, mate, you kill me, man. You really do. And then we got home, it was twice the size. No, his mum didn't even recognise it. Oh, that's oh, man. No, really, brilliant. Seriously.
Take the National Express when your life's in a mess. It'll make you smile.